in Chinese. But in English, because we come from other languages, we can go to other places and we can see how those words develop. This part here is basically the French development of this here. So it's the same word, but one straight from Latin, one from Latin to French to English. So the only thing is then, we need to pay attention that we can build this relationship. All of these have this idea of whole. Contain, you know, con is with, right? So this contains water, right? It holds water inside itself. So it's a container, right? And then we have all of the other words that go with that. We have this idea of obtain, to get something, but usually by going against something else. We have detain, to hold back, right? For foreigners who are in Taiwan illegally, the government doesn't just kick us out right away, they detain them, right? They hold them back. You can't just run around the island with no paper, right? You need to have permission to be in the country. If you don't, you get detained. Maintain. Yeah. So that's why I use that example. You hold something in your hand because you care about it. You want to make sure it works. Okay? So then we have this tenacious and tenacity. You hold on to it. But here we don't have these other parts, so the hold part is stronger. You hold tight, you don't let go. Okay? So being tenacious means you don't let go. Tenacity is that desire to hold on. You don't let go. And that's how we get these words. But again, if you memorize one word, tomorrow you'll forget it. So put it with other words that you can use. So you can make some kind of a link. Okay? Now, because we're looking at this, I would like to give you a couple similar words. You have to be careful because there are two other roots that look similar. Okay, so you can't just say, if you see T-E-N, it means hold, right? Because we have other words, like the number 10 has nothing to do with this, right? Because we have other languages that come to English as well. So this one here talks about pulling something out, okay? So you can think of extend. When you extend something, you make it longer. Like the camera, right? If you look at the camera, the legs on the camera, right? Everybody, you know what I'm talking about, right? These legs here, they extend. Usually, if you don't want to carry the whole thing around, you slide them back inside, right? But they extend. So that's where we get that idea. Make sure this, okay, that's close enough. All right, so there's this idea as well, and this one here, you don't see it in a lot of words, but it refers to being able to touch something. So something that is tangible can be touched. It's an important idea in language because every idea that we have, every word, comes first from something that is tangible. So even if we talk about, say, an argument, how do you touch an argument? Or a thought, how do you touch that? They come from activities, actions, or things that we can touch. Because that's how language begins, with things that you can see and touch and hold, okay? So, this is also related to the word for tact. That's also referring to touching things. So, it's important to learn something well. going to learn something, do it well. But it's also important to realize that there's literally no end. So we could spend the next 10 hours just building off of this set of vocabulary. Learn something that can stay with you, but if you get tired, then do something else, right? So, okay, so we have that word there. This other word, adversity, do you see anything in that word that would help you? Is there any word that you can see this? University. Okay. And even shorter, universe.
They are related, right?
Yep.
Both of them have a VRS. Wow, good example.
So, can you think of other words? You see, the neat part about how language works like this, if you can find enough parts, you can build a relationship. Language is science. And you all know how to draw a chart in science, right? You need to get information. So we start with grades and then time. We pick a student and say, you know, at one point, his grades were here. 10 years later, his grades were here. That's not enough information. So we start looking for what happened in between. And then we can say, maybe there's something important there. There's some kind of relationship. We can draw a line and we can say, this must be important, right? You can make a relationship if you have enough information. So, universe, university, adversity, what else?
Anniversary.
Anniversary.
Controversial.
Controversy. We'll go with just the simpler form for now. You're missing out the one that's closest related to this one here.
Anniversary.
This one here. How about advertise? As in advertisement, or the American advertisement, right? Ads. So, what do they all have in common? That verse, this part here, ver or vert or verse. So, what does an advertisement make you do? You're walking down the street and then you see a pretty girl or a pretty guy, you know, depending on, right? It makes you turn, right? Universe. Turn it over, it's just one, right? Anniversary, when the year turns, okay? This verse simply means turn. So, something can turn you to a problem or away from a problem. It turns you. Adversity, something that turns you away from where you want to go. In this context here, he has the tenacity to battle adversity, right? He has to fight against whatever wants to turn him in a different direction. So that's where we get all of these ideas, okay? So we have a lot of these vert and verse words. They all have that basic root. You do have to be careful. There are some that look similar that come from a different language or different root. But for the most part, these here, there's a reason why they look the same. this sentence here, any other questions or problems? Because I do still want each of you to ask a question. They don't all have to be this long, but... So, who wants to go first? I could go I could do that, but people hate volunteering, so we'll just do it this way. I'll pick on you first. So, what do you have? What question? Throw one small. No isn't a question. I mean, it's amazing. Maybe in Chinese, no is a question, because I get a lot of students who say, do you have any questions? No. What's your question? No. You have to think of one. Do you have a question? That's the same answer as hers. You need to give me a different answer. You can keep thinking one. Give me one. Just one question. Just a little question. Any question. See, this is the problem. If the first person says no, then everybody else says, oh, I'm going to say no too. What did I come here to teach? Okay, I've got a question. All right. Okay, first you mean here like Taiwan, or do you mean here like 北部那个中国科技大学? Okay, here. The truth is, I have a friend at my church, and he told me that they needed a teacher here. So my friend's friend is the one who needed a teacher, so that's why I started. Yeah, it's actually a nice school. I know some people who attend here think it's not that great a school because students don't try very hard. But if that's the reason why, all you need to do to change that is try harder. Right? Yeah. It's your job to make it, because people have this idea that good students go to good schools. That's the dumbest thing ever. No. It's the students that make it a good school. So if you want this school to have a better reputation, if you want it to be famous, that's your job, right? The teachers will help you, but you're the students. So, but anyways, I enjoy teaching here. I get to meet a lot of new people, even if they never talk to me. So, okay, thank you. That's one question. Have someone play one. Your turn. Yeah. Any question? Say yes. 都可以问. I'll let you think about it a bit longer. All right, let's over back to you.
I don't have no question to ask.
Ayo. Okay. Well,
Why can journaling can create human
you mean in where? Again, sorry.
journaling create
In German, the language German.
journaling create
Oh,
new word.
Why did he create the word?
Yeah.
I don't know. But people do things to become more popular, and probably it wasn't his idea. Probably somebody else used it and he heard it. And maybe his advertising people thought it would be nice. It's just, you have a nice word that already exists. It's actually not a very nice word, to be honest. Insanity usually means something very negative. If you are crazy, then this isn't the happy kind of crazy. Yay, it's not that.
Not the good word.
This is not the good kind of crazy, no. But, if you've already got the same letters that you want, then I guess, it makes people think of it.
But journaling is a Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the
Yeah, but he works for Americans, right? Okay. So, no, people do this to make themselves more popular, right? If you can think of something that people will repeat, it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. If people repeat it, then you become more popular, more famous, right? So, there's, like people say in publishing, there's no negative publicity, right? You guys understand that statement? There is no negative publicity. You know Lady Gaga? Good example. I mean, think of the things that she has done to try to prove a point, right? Walking around covered in meat. How does that make her more popular?
Unique.
It's different, yeah. It makes people talk. And if they're talking about her, then she gets more popular, right? So that's part of it. You know, it doesn't matter if it's a good word or a bad word, it makes people remember it. So it's unfortunate, but that's how people are. Okay, other questions? Come on, any questions? Okay, yeah.
I heard a sentence several days ago. I guess it is a slang.
Mm-hmm.
It says, "I'm saucing."
Saucing.
Yeah, sauce. S-A-U-C-E. And you use sauce as a verb. I'm saucing, and it is in a song, I guess. And the singer just sing, "I'm saucing, I'm saucing, I'm saucing." So,
It doesn't make any sense, no.
doesn't make any sense. It is slang from. It is slang among young people.
Do you know what's the song that it was in?
I totally forgot.
Okay.
I just remember this sentence.
Part of the problem is not all singers are native English speakers. And even the ones that were born in a country like America, they don't all have good English. I mean, it's not racist, but to be honest, most of the black singers, they never got a good English education. They have their own version of English. It's a simple fact that they typically prefer their own language, their own version of English. And we have a name for that language, but it's not English. So that's part of the problem. They use a different grammar where they don't always have to use the word not, or they don't have to use verbs. They have a different set of vocabulary. And to be honest, a lot of the rap, especially, that comes from that culture, and from the white culture that tries to copy that culture, and even from the Chinese culture that tries to copy that black culture, a lot of that rap, it's a lot of cursing and swearing. And they talk about things to shock people. So it's quite possible that that's sexual.
You know, I even saw some slang words. Their usage is quite strange. Flex, F-L-E-X.
Mm-hmm.
Flex means money. For example, hey, let me show you my flex. And another word is vibe, V-I-B-E, means the feel.
This one is old.
Oh, that one's old.
Yeah. From the idea of vibration.